Hi, and welcome back to Assessing Achievement with the ELL in mind. In our last lesson, we presented some ideas about how to use self and peer assessment in your content classroom, paying close attention to your ELL's use of peer and self-assessment to develop language alongside content. In this video, we are going to take a look at rubric design as a way to measure learning and language objectives. Rubrics themselves should reflect the learning and language objectives as written in your learning outcomes. Rubrics should offer students feedback and, when appropriate, a score for both content and language demonstrated within an assessment. Rubrics offer a range of criteria to calculate a score rather than just one, usually arbitrary score. It is important for ELLs to earn a grade based on a variety of criteria, as this allows them to have mastered a concept but not necessarily a language structure and be graded as such. Let's get started now by taking a look at some of the benefits of rubrics. Rubrics can make an assessment more transparent for your learners or your students. Rubrics can be used at all points of assessment, the beginning, the middle, and the end of an actual assessment task. Rubrics can provide specific feedback for the student in a flexible way for the teacher. Once they are created, rubrics can reduce the evaluation time, though actually creating the rubrics can be a bit more time-consuming. Rubrics should be created for individual and unique assignments, so to focus on specific learning and language objectives for that unit or part of the course. Rubrics can be used strategically at the beginning, middle, and end of an assessment task. Rubrics are used at the beginning of a task as a way to introduce the task and clarify the intended learning objectives and language objectives for your ELLs. The students can refer back to the rubric throughout the task time or the time they are working on a specific assessment. Rubrics are used in the middle of an assessment task as a peer or self-evaluation tool, and as a way for students to measure their progress within the assessment guidelines. Finally, rubrics are used at the end of an assessment task as a final evaluation. All rubrics should have two features, the first being measurable criteria for the learning and language objectives, the second being descriptors of each level of evaluation. Usually there are 4 aspects or 4 descriptors per criteria, each with a point value to rate the quality of performance. Let's take a look at this in an example assessment. We see our assessment here, which is to measure 2 outcomes, one learning and one language objective. The learning objective reads, by the end of this lesson, the student will be able to hypothesize solutions for deforestation in a given region of the world. The language objective is, by the end of the lesson, the students will be able to use if-then conditional statements to discuss solutions to a problem. In order to measure these outcomes, we have an assessment that is for the student to create and present a detailed poster that outlines a solution for deforestation in your given region of the world. Here is an example rubric to use alongside this assessment for evaluation purposes. We can see here that each of our objectives, the learning and language objective, become a criteria on our rubric. Of course, in a real classroom situation, this rubric would contain more criteria to parallel the many learning outcomes of a unit. The learning objective is represented by our criteria or outline of solutions, and we have 4 descriptors that the student can be evaluated on. For a student to earn full credit, their poster would have to show an exceptionally clear outline of a plausible solution to deforestation. For a student to earn only 1 point, the poster would need to not show any clear or reasonable solution to deforestation at all. When we look at our language criteria, the student is able to use if-then conditional statements. In order for the student to earn full credit, they would have to demonstrate mastery of conditional if-then statements in the poster and in an oral presentation. For a student to earn only 1 point, they would have to show no evidence of if-then statements in the poster and presentation at all. This type of example can be used to provide feedback for the ELL on their use of language and can be incorporated into the grade, or provided as feedback only, or you can choose to combine the content and language criteria to equal the full total of the student's grade. You will want to be careful when making a choice in how to weight language and content, that you are still remaining fair to that student. In our next lesson, we will see some more examples of measuring and monitoring learning and language development for our ELLs.